Most dogs don't have enough stomach acid and they have trouble breaking down, digesting, and absorbing their food. Hey, pet parents, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, holistic veterinarian and founder of The Natural Pet Doctor. If you're new here, this channel is all about empowering amazing pet parents like yourself with the tools and tips you need to help your pet thrive naturally. If you're into that, I would absolutely love if you'd subscribe to our channel and join our amazing growing community. So you may be experiencing this right now. You have a sensitive dog where you feed a different food, they get diarrhea, or they might vomit, or they just don't feel very good. So today I'm going to give you some top tips for dogs with sensitive GI tracts. So what if your dog's not tolerating that diet change? So if you're currently shifting over to a new food, these are some steps that I want you to do. First, treat that inflammation with slippery elm or plantain root and/or marshmallow root. Some good brands that are out there are Animal Essentials Colon Rescue, RX Vitamins, Nutrigest are great options that you can try to help calm down that inflamed gut lining. You also want to fast your dog on bone broth for 12 to 24 hours. Now, if you have a puppy, make sure you talk to your veterinarian to make sure that that's okay. Or if you have a diabetic pet or they're on medications that need to be given with food, make sure you check in with your veterinarian. But this will allow the gut to rest. The bone broth has a lot of collagen. It has a lot of great nutrients to support the gut lining. And then you want to look at slowing down that diet change and reassessing. So this means going back to those principles we've been talking about: remove, repair, replace, replenish. And so step one is always about removing. Maybe there's something that we haven't removed yet that's causing inflammation and inhibiting your dog from healing. So what do we need to remove? And this is where we need to make sure you've removed inflammatory foods and treats that may be triggering that leaky gut. Once again, go back to that pet food label to identify if there are certain ingredients that are causing the issue. But here are other areas that might be causing that leaky gut, that inflamed gut lining in your dog. Foods that are high in lectins. This is going to be wheat, rice, spelt, soy. Foods with a high glycemic index. So these are foods that increase sugar levels quickly in the body. They can feed yeast and bad bacteria. So foods that fall into this are going to be potatoes, carrots, wheat. Fruits are also going to play a part. And also unnecessary vaccinations. This is where it's really important that you're asking for vaccine titers for parvo and distemper instead of just doing the vaccine every year or every 3 years, where your vet can draw some blood, send it into the lab, and see if your pet has antibodies against those different viruses that indicate that they're protected if they came into contact with those diseases. There's also chlorinated water. There's chemicals in our water. If you're using tap water and you're not using filters, we have a video down in the comments section below for you to watch on water quality to assess what's in your water, what might be lurking in your water, inhibiting your pet from healing. We also need to be looking at dewormers, flea, tick, heartworm preventatives. So make sure you watch our natural insect repellent remedies video to get some other tips and tools to help use less chemicals on our pets that could be causing that dysbiosis in the gut. Also, if your pet's on antibiotics, this is going to be leading to leaky gut, causing dysbiosis. Now you need to work with your veterinarian to see if they can come off of that, or if there's other supplements, which we're going to mention, that you can use to support and help that gut that's maybe being bombarded by those antibiotics. Now, don't forget about stress. If you have a dog that has a lot of stress, or if you have a lot of stress, your household is under a lot of stress, we need to make sure we're addressing stress, because we know with that gut-brain axis, stress is going to lead to dysbiosis. It's going to affect the microbiome. And we need to make sure we're getting our dogs out, getting exercise, we have environmental enrichment, and we're really helping them and removing or reducing some of that stress. And don't forget about food sensitivities. So taking a look at tests like Nutri-Scan to identify if maybe some of the foods we are feeding, even if they're good, high quality foods, might be causing some of that inflammation and inhibiting your dog from healing. And you're stuck in that sensitive, vicious cycle where you can't seem to add anything or adjust anything, and they just get worse. Step 2 is where we repair, we replace, and we replenish. And this is where it can get a bit tricky because each pet can be different. However, by identifying the key signs of where those imbalances may lay, you can use specific supplements to help your dog's gut health improve. Most dogs don't have enough stomach acid, and they have trouble breaking down, digesting, and absorbing their food, especially if they've been on medications like acid blockers, like omeprazole, if they've been on chronic medications. And this is where assessing the symptoms of your dog that they're showing can help guide you on the best supplements to use. Now, if you start using these supplements or you started adding in supplements and you're not seeing results within 2 weeks, there's something that needs to be adjusted or something is being missed. Now, assessing the symptoms, this is where by answering these questions, you'll have a better idea if you can start by adding in something like your stomach acid, the betaine hydrochloride, or if you need to focus on soothing the gut lining first. So some of those common questions I want you to answer right now, if your dog is falling into the sensitive category, is, does your dog have excessive gas? Do they tend to have more problems with digestion, vomiting? Maybe they're taking on that praying stance where they're showing that discomfort or diarrhea after a meal, or are they displaying those symptoms on an empty stomach before they're fed? Do they have problems digesting fats, even healthy fats like omega-3 supplements from good brands? Now, if we're seeing symptoms prior to eating, we want to ensure we're using soothing formulas and foods first. We don't want to just jump right into adding in the stomach acid and things like that, because we can actually make them worse. So this is where using chlorophyll can be highly beneficial. So I've listed some standard process supplements here because I really like using standard process for my patients. I find pets respond really well to them, and they're a good whole food source. They use a lot of glandular products to really help heal the body. So there's a product called chlorophyll complex, and chlorophyll has been shown through a lot of research studies to increase the secretory IgA immunoglobulin in the gut, which helps produce that protective mucin layer. And then we have okra pepsin E3. Okra is a great food source that's very soothing. It helps with mucin production. It has a soothing effect on GI lining. It's combined with pepsin to help break down the proteins and that protein mucus layer that can form on the stool. So if you're seeing a lot of mucus production, I would definitely give these a try. If you're really weary about starting off at these dosages, start with less and then work your way up and see how they do. So these would be great formulas for those pets that are showing symptoms prior to eating. Now, if you have pets, dogs showing GI symptoms after eating, this is a sign that you need to add in betaine hydrochloride and pepsin to help break down and digest protein. So there's a standard process betaine hydrochloride supplement that you'd add in before each meal to help with the stomach acid, lower that pH. It's going to help break down the food and help with digestion and absorption. And then there's also standard process Zypan, which has other digestive enzymes in it that help with that meal and help digestion and absorption afterwards. So if you're feeding your pets and you're noticing really gassy and grumbly afterwards, make sure we're implementing these. And you can play around with these, start with a lower dosage, but once we start tapping into where are these symptoms occurring and why, we can look at using either starting with the soothing enzymes, plant enzymes. And if that's not working, we can always go to, maybe we actually need some more pepsin. We need more stomach acid because our pets are too low in that and they're having an issue digesting their food. Now, if you're concerned with like bacterial overgrowth issues or fungal like yeast infections, then using natural phytobiotic sources of antifungal and antibacterial herbs can really help reestablish an appropriate microbiome. So these are going to be dogs with recurrent allergies, Giardia infections, they might be on chronic medications. Now, of course, do those tests like the stool test to rule out the problems. Work with your veterinarian. They should be doing skin scrapings. They can do tape preps to identify if there is like a candida overgrowth, looking at stool samples to see, do we have an overgrowth of bacteria? Are we getting recurring Giardia infections? And this is where we can use products like biocidin. Standard Process has a wormwood complex. We can use supplements like golden seal and berberine, which are really going to help optimize, have antibacterial effects on the microbiome, and also generally support and have anti-inflammatory properties too, because we know we're dealing with this chronic leaky gut, this chronic inflammatory state. There's also protocols for yeast from companies like Adored Beast and Dogs Naturally that you can check out. Some of the other products I like using too are Standard Processes canine enteric support, which is focusing on supporting the enteric system, so the gut microbiome with glandular products, and then also supporting the hepatic or liver, so the detox pathway, because if we're not supporting all these systems that interact together and are connected, we're going to sometimes have that limited healing where you're wound up with a sensitive pet and you're not making progress. So we need to make sure we're supporting endocrine system, the enteric system, the hepatic, the detox, the digestive system in whole. So definitely check out some of those supplements. I would recommend only starting with one at a time, even using half the dosage that's required for those and working your way up. And don't forget, we need to be feeding an optimal diet. Make sure you check out our video in this week 3 on rotational feeding and how to add in some of those superfoods and rotate different varieties of meat, and making sure we're truly optimizing the microbiome by feeding the good bacteria with different food sources and getting those vitamins and nutrients in rather than just sticking with one diet. And then don't forget, we need to make sure we're replenishing the microbiome with beneficial bacteria. If your dog's been on chronic medications or recently had antibiotics, using a beneficial probiotic that has Saccharomyces boulardii can help your dog's gut health tremendously, because that beneficial yeast is not broken down or killed by antibiotics or drugs, unlike your traditional lactobacillus, your bifidobacterium strains. We need to also ensure there's a good food source or prebiotic for those probiotics, and that's essential for optimizing gut health. So good prebiotics are going to include things like inulin, chicory root, larch arabinogalactin, monooligosaccharides, fructooligosaccharides, slippery elm bark, and then whole food sources like mushrooms, asparagus, pomegranate. Those are just a few examples that we can add in variety to the food, and we're feeding the good microbiome. You'll notice on the labels of most probiotics that are good that you'll see that they have the prebiotic already in there, because that's the food source for those beneficial bacteria. And now you're in the long game of maintaining healthy GI support. This is the last step. So make sure you're rotating foods, you're adding variety, you're limiting toxins and chemicals in the food, water, treats, environment. You're supporting optimal digestion, following the supplement recommendations for digestive enzymes, beneficial probiotics, and omega-3 essential fatty acids. And keep up the great work with your dog's gut health. You will always be going through cycles with your dog, just like we do with our own health. But by following these principles and constantly assessing environment, food, mental health, emotional status, physical health, focusing on those foundational pillars for optimal health, you will help your dog achieve optimal health, optimal gut health, and they will live a long and vibrant life. So if you like this video, it would mean the world to me if you liked this video and left a comment down below. But I hope you found something helpful. When we focus on these 5 pillars of health, this is where the transformation in your pet's health occurs. If you're ready to learn more and how to implement these into your fur family's life, make sure to schedule a call with me to hear all about our amazing Healthy Holistic Pet for Life blueprint. We already have many pet parents implementing this information you learned today, and they're already getting amazing results. But here's the best part. You never need to feel alone again, since you'll be joining our lifelong program and community with the guidance from me and other pet parents across the world. So if you're ready for the next level of pet care, click that link below and make sure to check out all of our other content at thenaturalpetdoctor.com. See you soon.